It is draft week for the 2023 NFL draft. And of course, there is massive breaking news to kick off the week. We have a new starting quarterback for the New York Jets as they have just acquired Aaron Rodgers, the star QB, former MVP from the Green Bay Packers. The trade details are as follows. Aaron Rodgers, the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, pick number 15, and then a 2023 fifth rounder. On top of that, the Packers are getting pick number 13, so a pick swap there, a 2023 second round pick, and then a conditional 2024 second round pick that could become a first if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the plays. I've got joining me, Joe DeLeone. Joining me is Andrew Golden, host of Believe in Jets, to react to this. Look, I just got to know the gut reaction, which we knew this was happening, but what are your thoughts on just the deal itself now that we know that there is a deal in place that is about to go through?
Yeah, my instant reaction, Joe, is it's finally over. The speculation is now in the past. We don't have to be arguing conditions or what it's going to be or how long Rodgers plays or anything like that. We know what we're giving up. Here we sit a couple of days out from the NFL draft, as you mentioned, and the Jets know where they're going to stand. They know where their picks are going to be. They know who, they can look to target on the board, and they can adjust their board accordingly. I think that is, if they were going to give up picks this year, it was best to get it done before the draft rather than during the draft, because when you're on the clock and you're trying to make moves and trades like this, that's when it can get really dicey and it can get, really hard to try and make the smartest move. Overall, I think what we've seen from the conversation here is that the Jets knew they had to acquire Rodgers. And to be quite frank, this is more than I was expecting it was going to be traded for. I thought with how long this trade took, to play out, with Rodgers being very open in the fact that he wanted to be in New York, I thought that would just, turn away any other teams from making an offer. And I knew the Packers at the end of the day weren't going to want to pay as much, if any, of his $60 million salary going into this next season. I thought that was going to make things a little more, let's get this done and get it out of the way. I'm really surprised, honestly, mostly at the condition for the pick next year. It is 65% of snaps played by Aaron Rodgers in 2023. That pick will go from a second-round pick to a first-round pick. You break that down, roughly assuming offensive snap counts per game of about 50, give or take, you're looking at about 10 to 11 games, maybe 11 and a half games. If Rodgers starts that many games for the Jets in 2023, they're going to be giving up a first-round pick. I really thought it was going to center around whether he commits to play for them in 2024, where if you have some sort of a verbal commitment from Rodgers saying, I will be here beyond just this following season, that maybe that's going to make more sense for the Jets to acquire Rodgers at that price. Giving up that one, saying regardless of what happens in 2024, you could be in 2024 without a first-round pick and without Aaron Rodgers. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I don't totally get, because I understand that they're trying to protect themselves from, frankly, a guy who's had an injury history over the past 5 years. He hasn't been 1000% available and he's had nagging injuries. So they don't want him to come in and then maybe be a little maybe annoyed with the situation and then sit some games and then to get screwed by all of that. But I agree with you on that point that you would think the conditional would be contingent on, is he available and does he retire after the 2023 season? And I think that should have been included. That's what the conditional should have been, because theoretically they put all their chips on the table for this year. That's what it is. That's essentially what this move is. And theoretically, they could be going to Zach Wilson with no first round pick the following year, then trying to figure their situation out. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I think that's now an added layer to this whole thing where you kind of hope that you get 2 to 3 years out of them, and you hope those 2 to 3 years are of a high level and not what happened with Brett Favre.
Yeah, that's the hope for sure. And you're 110% right. They are selling out for 2023. They are trying to be the LA Rams and push all their chips into the table for 1 year and say, let's go win a title right now. And the reason that I think that makes a lot of sense, knowing Rodgers' future is uncertain, if you're making this move, you're really trying to make the most out of this next coming year, and you can't look too far past the future. Ultimately, the Jets feel comfortable giving up that amount of an asset and saying, well, whatever it's going to take, whether he's here or not, we feel comfortable paying essentially for a 1-year rental of a guarantee of Rodgers for 1 year. You're paying a second-round pick, 2 first-round picks. You're getting a first-round pick back that's slightly afterwards. You're getting a 5th-round pick back while giving up a 6th. it's hard to equate the total value of what they're giving up if you wanted to make it 1 or 2 draft picks. But this feels to me like the Jets are paying a first round pick plus to rent Aaron Rodgers for a year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And hopefully the results are worth making, making this move. Now on the point though, them moving from 13 to 15, how do you think this impacts that draft decision? Who do you think they end up picking? They're still in a spot where they're not losing that first round pick, which is great because that means that they can draft if it's maybe a tight end, if it's a receiver, just an extra weapon to keep Aaron Rodgers happy, who we know is frequently not happy. But how do you think this impacts the decision at the pick of who they're going to take?
Yeah, luckily for the Jets, I don't think this changes their draft strategy much at all in the first round. I think it was very likely they were going to look to target an offensive tackle with the 13th overall pick, and I don't think that's going to be any different with the 15th overall pick. The question for me, looking kind of shaping this from the outside, relating it back to where the Jets are going to go, why would the Packers want to come up for those 2 spots? They're trying to get ahead of New England. That's the only team between them and the Jets is the New England Patriots.
Mm.
And it seems likely, at least from the Patriots angle, their 2 biggest needs or most likely positions to target are wide receiver and offensive tackle as well. So if you're the Packers, I think this is a move with JSN in mind in Jackson Smith and Jigba. And let's try and go get him at 13, get ahead of the new Patriots at 14. And that I think might push an offensive tackle down the board even further for the Jets. Personally, Joe, I've been on the Darnell Wright hype train for quite some time now. That's where I was hoping the Jets would go at 13 before. I think there's still a good chance he could be there at 15 as well. And if he is, I think that's the easy pick.
Well, we'll see what ends up happening with those draft picks. Andrew Golden of Believe in Jets. Appreciate you hopping on, and we'll see what happens on draft night as we're going to get an instant reaction from Andrew. More to come, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
Yep, appreciate you guys. Can't wait to talk on draft night, Joe. Going to be a lot of fun.